Ahoy, pirates! Want to learn how to fully master the shadows and become a ghost upon the Sea of Thieves? Well, you've come to the right place. But before we begin, make sure you are ready for these lessons by picking up the hide emote from the Pirate Emporium. Students who want extra credit should also get the wall and deck hide emotes. However, they aren't free, but they can be earned through the season passes free ancient coins. Welcome to Tucking 101. My name is Zherron Vorse, and today we will learn everything there is to know about tucking within Sea of Thieves. Alright, occasionally throughout this course there will be pop quizzes to test your knowledge as well as reinforce what you have learned so far. So let's begin. Lesson 1. What is tucking and why do we do it? Tucking is what the community has named the act of being stealthy and hiding on an enemy player's ship or near them on the island. Why do we do it? We have 3 reasons. 1. It increases your chances of success drastically if it's a situation that allows for it. If getting to be a better shot increases your success rate at a linear rate, then learning to hide increases it at an exponential rate. What do I mean by that? For example, let's say you are fighting someone who is a better can shot, has a better hand-to-hand fighter than you are, and even has more crewmates than you do. How do you win? If you can sneak a gunpowder keg near them, then that heavily increases your chances of winning despite you being the underdog. 2. It's the break from the usual gameplay loop and gives the game a whole new perspective. For example, instead of relying on your ship all the time, you learn to rely on the environment itself. You get a better grasp on what the game has to offer in regards to island cooking, resource gathering, and what the islands you can switch your weapons on without using your ship. 3. It's fun. The sheer adrenaline you can get from carefully evading detection against other players is something truly magical in my opinion. No one's here. No one's gonna get past the lookout, man. It's fine.
Huh?
What? Alright, lesson 2. Dressing for success. Like everything in life, you want to look the part of what your goal is. That is no different here. Wearing muted and darker colors will greatly improve your chances and success when tucking. Bright, flashy, or even glowing cosmetics will heavily hinder your chances. Anything from the Black Dog, Midnight Blades, Shadow Tide, or even Hunter cosmetics will all be dark enough to aid you in your sneaky endeavors. The blackest outfit combination to date in the meta tucking outfit is the Majestic Sovereign shirt, the Ruffian Sea Dog trousers, Black Dog or Hunter boots and gloves, and the Shadow Tide ninja mask. However, while effective, it can work against you if the ship you are tucking on uses bright cosmetics. This is the general rule of thumb, but it is not required for tucking. Lesson 3. Weapon choice. You may be led to believe from my previous videos that weapon choice is extremely important to stealth and many combinations are not stealthy. While this is partially true, the most important thing with your weapon loadout is that you are comfortable with it and you are alright with the downsides each loadout presents. You rarely, if ever, get a second chance at a tuck attempt when it fails. So you have to make sure you can make do with your weapon loadout or have a plan in place to change it on the fly. Remember, you can't change your weapons from enemy crew's armory. Let's mix it up and have a pop quiz. 1. True or false? Tucking is good for every situation within Sea of Thieves. False. While it can be utilized in most situations, it really takes good decision making to determine if you should use stealth in a situation. An example of it being a detriment is in solo hourglass, where you have to micromanage your ship while also keeping pressure on the enemy. However, in all other hourglass forms, if you board the enemy, it can be useful. 2. True or false? Your weapon loadout should be focused on getting onto an enemy ship, since you can change your weapons there once you're on board. False. While this used to be the case, since armories used to be unlocked for all pirates, that is no longer the case. When planning your weapons, plan for as many scenarios as you can and what you want to accomplish, since you might not get to change them later. 3. While stealth clothing is supposed to be muted and not catch the eye, where would the Ashen Curse actually not be a bad idea? A. The Reaper's Lair underneath the hideout. B. Pirate Legends Lair. C. Devil's Roar. D. Both A. The Reaper's Lair and C. The Devil's Roar. The answer is D. The Reaper's Lair and the Devil's Roar have a ton of lava as well as red hues, which will enable the orange glowing curse to actually blend in fine without drawing the eye. Lesson 4. Tools at your disposal. Knowing is half the battle, and knowing your tools will make the battle go so much smoother. Let's break these tools down. Food. Always keep the highest value of food on you, as well as cooked mer fruit. You want to play as unfair as possible because you only have one chance in most tuck plays. The grapple gun. Its mobility is unmatched at the cost of dealing no damage to players. It also enables new sneaky plays to board ships depending on the ship type and the angle you attempt to grapple the ship from. Disguises. These goofy props you can turn into are actually surprisingly effective against most crews. Simply enter an existing loot pile and turn into a chest they already have, or if they have a very few chests, throw one of them overboard and turn into that. Barrels are also an effective disguise, just be out of the way enough for someone looking for food doesn't blow your cover. Mimic and lure darts. These darts can both be used to control the attention of AI threats on islands. Mimic darts can be used to turn into the enemy crew so you can change locations without being detected, while lure darts can be used to split up the crew if used in a convincing manner. Hanging points. Best used as the temporary spot to hide when you first get onto a ship. There are only a handful of good hanging spots, but they all work well in a pinch. Speaking trumpet. This might surprise you to see this on the list, but say you want to manipulate the crew into attacking another ship. Simply roleplay as a crew member from the other ship to get the crew you're tucking on to do your bidding. Traps. Bear traps excel in catching people who are focused on other things, extra things to worry about. They work best for ambush tactics when players are prepping for a turn-in, or on the route players use to bucket water off their ships. Sometimes it's even beneficial to throw them out mid-fight if you can think it will hinder an opponent's movement just to avoid them. Kegs. Gunpowder barrels are tuck players' best friends. Prep traps for pirates chasing you and catch them off guard. Place them all around an enemy ship and pop them when the crewmate gets back on board, or even use them as a distraction to prep for your next stealth play. Lesson 5. Hiding spots. Unfortunately, when it comes to places to hide, there is no correct by-the-book way I can teach you. What I can show you is a few of my favorite spots for each ship type, as well as a few important locations on islands that players often overlook. Sloop. The sloop has 3 really good hiding spots, and the rest are just decent. 2 of the best 3 spots are both on the tarp on the back. Simply line yourself up with the beam and walk up until you see your camera sink down without jumping into the water. Turn yourself appropriately so you show as little of your body as possible. Then use the hide emote. The tarp tuck is extremely good, but it is difficult to get to quickly in high stress situations, so I often don't use it. The final really good hiding spot is next to the voyage table. Simply turn off the lantern next to the table and use the hide emote. This tuck spot is easy to use, but has 2 major flaws with it. For one, if the crew is using a lightly colored hole, you will stick out like a sore thumb. And at certain times of the day, the sun will hit you and reveal you. If using this spot, it is recommended to move locations during sunrise and sunset to avoid this light problem. These other hiding spots are good, but are often found depending on what happens in the situation. The helm and cannon tucks are all good in most situations, but if the crew uses the cannons, they could find you, and they are all likely to get hit by straight cannons from other sources. Brigantine. The brig has 3 good spots, but no extremely good spots anymore. A while back, the curtain next to the bed used to be on the opposite side, which made it much better for tuck players. Now that's on the other side, it's not near as good. However, this still is probably the best spot on the brig. Simply use the wall hide here to get the best results. Behind the wood barrel is also a good spot that you will rarely get found, and the map table is also a good spot, but it's also the most well-known tuck spot on the brigantine. As per usual, the cannon and crow's nest tucks are still an option, but they are still more risky. Some players also find success with the forward mast tuck on the brigantine. Galleon. The galley has a ton of fantastic spots you can use against players. Some are hard to get to with high success rates, and others are easy to get to with similar results. My personal favorite is by the curtain in the captain's quarters using the wall hide after turning off the lantern next to you. The harpoon tuck is also extremely good, but a little more difficult to get to. Simply jump onto the railing and walk off until you hit a lower ledge. Once there, use the hide emote. The hardest spot to get to on the galleon is the stern tuck. However, it used to be the best tuck spot, but is now a bit weaker due to the game's tendency to make you stutter, which could make you slide off. The more simple spots to go to are the helm tuck with the hide emote, the cannon tuck with the hide or deck hide emotes, and the lantern tuck with the hide emote. Time for another pop quiz. 1. True or false? Always play with honor and try to give everyone a fair fight. False. We are pirates and thieves. Especially as a tuck player, you are already at a disadvantage for not having a respawn point or extra crewmates. It is your job to use the advantage you do have and turn it into an unwinnable scenario for the enemy team. be it baiting people into traps or secretly sneaking with the highest value loot item without any warning. 2. True or false? The grapple gun can be used to kill players. True. While situational, the grapple gun can be used to pull players into holes and kill them with fall damage. The most prominent example of this is at the Reaper's hideout. Lesson 6. Understanding human nature. Humans are predictable by nature and have many quirks that you can take advantage of. Let's start off with a player's focus and endurance, and then we'll go over predicting players' actions before they even make them. Player attention spans and alert levels. With this age of technology, everyone has drastically shortened attention spans. This can be seen when you sneak onto an enemy ship and are easily overlooked. This is because humans only focus on what they view as interesting or as a threat. You aren't focusing on the edge or frame of your phone or monitor right now, are you? But instead you're focusing on the pixels in the middle and all the colors. Humans are incapable of paying attention to everything at once, so this can be taken advantage of until something gives you away. Once that happens, players enter a heightened stage of alertness. This is where stealth becomes much harder since the players are now looking for you. So simple hiding spots won't work at this stage, and mimic darts are less likely to succeed. The trick for players who are in this stage is to either have such a good hiding spot that they eventually give up, must have been the wind style, or to reveal yourself and fake your death or even fake leaving in some way. Faking your death isn't easy, but it is doable with kegs or other explosives. Just make sure you hide right as the explosion goes off so your name vanishes with the fire as well. Fake leaving is the most effective on galleons since you can pretend to jump overboard but instead hit the captain's quarters balcony and run back inside. An additional way to fake leaving is to kill all the enemy players, then drop a piece or two of loot overboard and then re-hide before they respawn. This will make them think you jumped overboard with their loot and are no longer on board. Once players relax, you can afford to be more risky, but you still have to be more careful than you were originally since they are still somewhat aware that there are tuck players nearby. Reading your victims and predictions. Humans are creatures of habit, and using this you can often accurately predict what the crew you are tucking on will do next. As stated before, we don't want to put more effort into something than we have to, so using this we repeat ourselves often and stick to our comfort zones. So when you're tucking on a crew, think about what you would do in their situation. Say they just beat an Ashen Lord. They first usually will eat food to top themselves off in health, some will grab ammo, and then they will start bringing loot to their ship. Doing this, they create their own circuit of running laps from the loot on the island back to the harpoon drop point. During that time, you can use the gaps in their laps to switch spots if you need to. Lesson 7. The Grand Reveal. This is it. This is everything you worked for all summed up into a single glorious moment. Be it sneaking off to the side of the ship with the loot or blowing up the keg trap you had everything prepped for. It's entirely up for you to figure out when is the best time based on the circumstances you are in. This often requires hand-to-hand combat as well, so you'll have to make sure you can kill the enemy crew in order to succeed. Final exam. This has been a blast being your teacher, but it's time for the final test and to see what you've learned. 1. Where's the most effective hiding locations within the Reaper's hideout? A. Behind the emissary table. B. By the curtains on either side of the room. C. By the barrels near the front of the room. Or D. Beside the servant of the flame. The answer is B. While all the other options are good depending on the situation, they are often checked by enemy crews with blunderbombs, while the center of the room is never checked because players think they can see everything. 2. What makes up the meta Tucker's outfit? A. Black dog jacket, ferryman pants and belt, shadow-tied gloves, boots, and ninja mask. B. Majestic sovereign shirt, ruffian sea dog trousers, hunter's boots and gloves, and shadow-tied ninja mask. C. Shadow-tied ninja mask, midnight blade shirt, pants, gloves, and boots. D. Shadow-tied ninja mask, jacket, gloves, pants, and boots. The answer is B. While the other options are certainly good, the darkest combination is also the oldest combination, with the shadow-tied ninja mask being the newest addition to the outfit. 3. True or false? While it is much more difficult, it is still possible to tuck on someone who has already found you once. True. Humans are creatures of habit and will often let their guard down the moment they think the threat has been dealt with. Using this, you can get back to the crew or wait for another opportunity to strike. It's just usually more difficult at this point. 4. True or false? Tucking can drastically help with your chances of victory if done correctly. True. It is an extra layer of strategy that is independent of traditional methods of sailing towards an enemy and attacking them. It can be done right before a fight begins, or even after a loss to help keep your chances of winning high. Extra credit trivia question. When was tucking/stealth first conceptualized within the game? Like, when did players or the developers first consider it as an option outside of the normal gameplay loop? A. During the alpha testing. B. Right after launch. C. During the Devil's Roar expansion. Or D. During the Season 14 stealth overhaul. The answer is A. It was actually mentioned as early back as the alpha promotional videos. While the term tucking hadn't been adopted yet, during this time the idea of sneaking on board an enemy ship and running off their treasure has always been a core idea within the game. It just wasn't as advertised until Season 14.
Rising Sea Dog will sneak on board and snatch it, but don't make it easy for them.
While it was a ton of information, it was an absolute delight teaching you all about stealth and tucking. I hope you all learned something, and thank you all for joining. Your homework now, before you go, is to go hide on another crew's ship and try something you haven't done before. Maybe move all their loot around every time they jump overboard and see how confused you can get them. That's it for me. May the shadows preserve you.